for the show. Hello and welcome. We're joined today by former NBA All-Star Kenyon Martin and NFL Network analyst Willie McGinnis. Let's start in Oakland, where the Warriors have now won 3 in a row, absolutely destroying the Suns last night after Steve Kerr used a very unorthodox form of motivation, handing off his clipboard to Draymond Green, Andre Iguodala, and David West, and letting the players coach themselves during the timeout. It's a couple of different takes on last night, including Kerr and former NBA coach Sam Mitchell.
It's the players' team. It's their team, and they have to take ownership of it. And as coaches, our job is to nudge them in the right direction, guide them, but we don't control them. They determine their own fate, and I don't feel like we focused well at all the last month, and it just seemed like the right thing to do, and I thought they communicated really well together, and they drew up some nice plays, and it was a good night. I think just having to count on each other and not hearing my voice, which, you know, sort of sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher or parents or whoever's voice that is. At this point, that's what I sound like to them. So they needed a different voice.
I have nothing to say. All I know is for the people who think it's great, just let someone come to show up at their job with no experience, and that's not what they do, and you let them do your job. Look, I understand Steve Kerr, they're winning. He's got 2 championship rings, been in 3 finals, and Golden State can do what they want to do. It's just, all I know, if they win, do I need to coach now? Why don't I just pay Kevin Durant an extra meal and say, you be the player coach?
Kyrie, I think this was a big deal that's going to have ramifications in all sports. Do you think it was a mistake?
No, I think, listen, when you have a veteran team full of really smart guys who are great, there's some of those guys are almost coaches on the floor. Most great teams have a couple of players. Magic Johnson was a coach on the floor. That doesn't mean he can be the coach for 82. But the difference between good teams and great teams is generally high intelligence athletes who are kind of doing some of the work for you. That's why Teddy Bruschi or Rodney Harrison for the Patriots, when they leave, the defense isn't the same. This is not an indictment on coaching. What it is...
Sam Mitchell took it that way.
Well, then Sam Mitchell's got a problem.
Sam been fired.
Yeah, you know what this is? Instead of looking at it as an indictment on coaches, what it is an illustration of a uniquely intelligent, high-functioning group of men.
Why is it an indication that they just have way more talent than everybody else?
That's some of it.
And who knows how high-functioning Draymond Green is intelligence-wise. I can point to some dumb things he's done. Now, again, I can't say it's a mistake for the Golden State Warriors. They have so much talent. They do have a unique
group. They were
group.
playing Phoenix.
Yeah, but for them. But I just think this is going to spread around the league, and I think guys in Memphis or Orlando.
I don't know that,
because everybody don't have a Kevin Durant, everybody don't have a Draymond Green, everybody don't have a Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or David West or guys who you can depend on. Like Colin said, now you got guys over there that he knows what they're about. He got the pulse of his team. Like he understands. After a while, they've been winning. I'm saying winning can get like here we go again. It's monotonous after
for
a
a great team.
For good teams. He's been on successful teams as a player, on the staff with successful teams with San Antonio.
What about the self-awareness of the players?
He understands what he hears after a certain while of winning.
You're talking about Kerr.
Yes.
You're talking about the other players around the league.
Who cares?
Who
cares what they think?
This wasn't about Phoenix or the other coach. This was about his players and putting them in a situation. Parcells, I remember in practice, we would have a bad practice, and he would get really irritated. And he would say, you know what? All the coaches off the field and go inside. You guys start practice, and you guys go through the period yourself. And we didn't take it as a knock against us. We took it as we had a group of men that knew how to get it together and get it going, and we would get practice going. And regardless, he knew what type of guys he had. I think with Kerr, that's not going to happen when you're down 15 or 10 points, but it's in a situation where you got a nice league and that you guys need to figure this out. Here's the situation, and you guys need to figure it out. And it's not it has nothing to do with anybody else besides teaching his guys how to get it going.
Let me take an example.
They've been down for the last month. They've been up and down. So how do you get your guys something new? fresh blood, something else to think about.
You worked in the newspaper industry for years. 2 or 3 good columnists, 5 or 6 good beat reporters, some graphics people. If your sports editor got sick for 2 weeks and left in Kansas City in your heyday, okay, you would have functioned because you were all competent. It was a great sports page. Now, over time, you needed somebody to delegate, but you would have withstood a weekend or two.
Listen, this works for Golden State.
Against Phoenix.
What I'm saying, though, if they had turned the sports department in Kansas City over to us, what about the people in San Antonio, the newspaper there, or the newspaper in Orlando that doesn't have our staff? The people there, the other players around the league who also have big paychecks. And look, money makes you delusional. And money makes you think you can do the same thing as LeBron James or the same thing as Kevin Durant.
So how many teams in the NBA right now can do what Steve Kerr did?
Again.
How many teams can do that?
I think Memphis watches that and goes.
How many teams can do that? Maybe 3. Maybe 3 teams.
This is my question. You're missing my point. How many players think they can do that?
Well, them thinking of them being put in the situation to do it is 2 different things.
It's not like the players took over.
I'm saying it ain't like they went to Steve.
You go over there, we got this.
Steve comments was,
you don't think that's
after the loss the other night, I told them we were going to do it. So they lost. He told them we're going to do this the next game, and he did it. Give your guys something to think about. His guys at home, Draymond at home, thinking about what plays I'm going to write up during the timeout.
Right.
So you make them think the game even more than just being a player. You put them in different situations to succeed.
You don't, Colin, let me start here. You don't see this as an indictment a bit of the Warriors, that they're so bored because they're so talented and have such an easy path that he has to go to these lengths to get these guys to engage.
No, here's what I do see. It's an interesting point.
Is that a bad thing?
When these super teams were created, my takeaway is it's not bad for the playoffs because we all want to watch dynasties.
Yeah.
Now, it is bad for the regular season. This is why. Michael, it's autopilot. Golden State is so much better than 98. Now, take Houston out. They're so much better than 98% of the league. Super teams to me are great in April and May and June during the playoffs. This is the downside. January, February, they're bored out of their mind.
It's February 12th. You know what I'm saying? They got a week before.
Are the tickets discounted in February?
Listen, around the league, right? I played 15 years. This week here, guys like, man, when Thursday coming? When is Thursday getting here? Listen, when am I going on vacation? When All-Star Weekend?
I get your point.
Listen, it's 3 days. The countdown, 72 hours. Starts now.
I get your point. But people buy tickets and people tune in to see great competition and engaged superstars. I think this is an indicator. This, to me, is the downfall of the super team deal. They are so bored, and it's so easy for them that Steve Kerr's had, you know what, I got to turn the team over to y'all to get y'all to play hard.
Or could this have been the message? Sometimes, like you said, I started to sound like Charlie Brown. The message gets a little stale.
Definitely.
So let me reinvent a different way to engage and to get these players' attention and to get them more involved in what's going on. Let me put the ownership on them. Yeah. You guys go back and figure it out, and then once we get back in this situation, you guys are going to take control for a little while. And let me see how you guys delegate this thing. Because sometimes a coach saying the same thing on a really, really great team, because I've been on those teams, they find different ways to motivate you. There's only so many days you can come to a locker room or to a meeting room and say the same thing when you're constantly winning football or basketball or baseball games, and guys are going to be like, Coach, we heard that.
You tell them this right, and they lose. You tell them the same thing, and they lose. You tell them the same thing. So you're like, how do you get their attention? Okay, we've been playing the same way for the last month. For the last month, we've been mediocre. It's got to switch it up. Like you said, like what I said, you got to do stuff to keep guys engaged.
In college sport, because in pro sports, most teams are reasonably talented. But how does Alabama, next year they're going to be a 20-point favorite in 8 of their games. How do they stay motivated? That's what coaching is. If you go to a bookstore and you go to the business part of the bookstore, they have all those books. 8 steps to be a better manager. One of the steps is, how do you keep employees motivated when they're talented and it's easy?
I think y'all are hearing me say that this is some kind of horrible negative. I don't think it's some kind of horrible negative. I don't. I think it's an indication that things have changed. If you dump this much money on athletes, on young people, they are much different to coach than in Willie McGinnis's era or Kenyon Martin's era. And so, again, I see this becoming more popular. I see this happening more in the NBA. And, hell, I could see it in one day affecting the NFL. Because, again, it's – Kenyon, when these guys are making, Paul Millsap is making $30 million. It's hard for the $3 million a year coach.
I get that, but you got to have the
right player. Listen, you think Peyton Manning didn't ever go into a game and pretty much work things out and coach himself offensively? And some of those times during his heyday, do you really think he needed an offensive coordinator to tell him what he needed to be in or what he needed to do? Yeah, so you really got guys like that that's able to do that. As a coach, you have to recognize that at certain points and let them do that.
Yeah, you got hands off at some point. Like, you can't always be hands-on.
It's not even sports. Think about Silicon Valley. You have, similarly, you have all these 29-year-old kids now. Some are billionaires. Well, how do you keep them motivated? Well, how do you keep them motivated? How do you manage them? Because people ultimately that make $1 million are driven for success, and they're competitive. Why do you keep working every day? Why do I keep working every day? Why did he keep playing when he was rich? When you were in the 9th year of your career, you were a millionaire. Why did you go to work early? Because you're competitive.
How?
NBA players want to get better, want to win titles, and want to compete.
I'm going to keep it 1,000% real and perhaps irritate all of the sports media world. But you and I have put in a lot of work and have a lot of talent to get where we're at. Now, what I'm talking about, what's happening in the NBA is there's people that haven't put in a lot of work and haven't been that productive. They've just gotten anointed and so you could be some media person. Let's take it all the way down to us, some media person, and they pay you $3 or $4 million a year to host a television show you really not qualified for. Yeah. And the next thing you're more concerned about Twitter and commenting on the president than you are doing your job.
Then I'd fire him.
And again, so most of the NBA, most of the NFL, most of Major League Baseball has a lot of more overpaid people that are riding the coattails of the Tom Brady's and the other people. And again, what is all this money going to do to them? They're much harder to coach.
Well, there is something
it's each individual, though. It's the person. So you put these people on the same.
It's the money.
Okay, the money's going to be there.
Drop that kind of money on
the money's going to be there. Guys, the money's going to be there, and it's only getting better. Like, these guys getting paid $200 million now, right?
I don't think you can do that with every team.
You can't.
Like I understand your point. Like some of the younger guys that's coming into the league, like they don't really understand what it means to be a pro and how to get yourself ready and how to be accountable and how to prepare and all those other things. I think this is a special situation because of the group of men that you have.
And where do you get that from?
So I think,
vets, right?
You get it from vets. So I think you can only do this with a team like that, with a bunch of guys that play with a chip, that have egos, that have pride, that are professional, that work really hard, that are competitive. So he challenged them pretty much. I thought it was just another challenge.
So let me ask you this. So he didn't give the clipboard to JaVale McGee? He didn't give the clipboard to Nick Young. He didn't give it to Nick Young.
Coming up,
to Draymond.
LeVar Ball may have just ended Lonzo's career with the Lakers.